Today's show will feature a very special guest that I have with me. His name is Johnny Rocket, and if he can say hello.
Hello, how's it going?
Okay, so we got Johnny Rocket here in the studio, and we're going to be talking one-on-one. Today's episode, there'll be no call-ins because we're really going to get into it here. We're talking about the subject matter is TBI versus PTSD. So TBI is traumatic brain injury versus PTSD, which is post-traumatic stress disorder. And our guest here, Johnny Rocket, is in the studio with us. And as you notice, for his own privacy and his own confidentiality, we have pitch shift his voice. So you are listening to Johnny Rocket. However, you will be listening to a modulated version of his voice for the purposes of us having this very personal conversation. So bear with us. And now we'll get into the show, Vetschatshow. Okay, Johnny Rocket. Johnny Rocket is next to us. And if you can, Johnny Rocket, can you please tell us a little bit about your background, where you're from? Also, why did you join the service?
I'm originally from Alaska. I was born and raised there. I have family back there. I have family here. I joined the military because there was very little job opportunities to deal with.
Okay, wonderful. So what kind of age are you talking about when you were joining and you came in under enlisted?
Yes, I was 19. I joined the Army, came in as a E1 private.
All right. What kind of experiences did you have in terms of deployments? Deploying, where did you deploy to? What campaign were you a part of?
During Iraqi freedom. So I was deployed in Iraq. We started off in Kuwait like most people. We spent about a month there and then moved on into Iraq.
All right, we're going to get a little bit into some issues at this point, which is the key part of this show, Vetschatshow. We discuss issues that are impacting veterans, and that's what we're going to do here and now, that are really focusing, that are giving you barriers or becoming struggles. So what issues are impacting you the most right now?
Flashbacks, dealing with my problems of PTSD comes and goes when it wants to. It's not really controllable. Sometimes the medicine that the VA provides helps, but like most people, I don't like taking meds. I want to actually deal with the problems on my own without having to use the medications, because all medications have side effects. So even if they're good drugs, they're still harming the body.
Okay, you had mentioned PTSD, and that's post-traumatic stress disorder. If you can you elaborate a little bit more about what is TBI or traumatic brain injury? What are some of the signs and symptoms in dealing with TBI and or post-traumatic stress? Let's get a little bit about TBI.
Traumatic brain injury usually occurs when your brain is shaken or moves around in your skull. You get impacted by something. I was in a blast wave, not hit directly by an IED and
improvised explosive device, yeah. IED.
So I was hit by the blast wave from it, and
Okay, go ahead. The blast wave.
The blast wave kind of jarred me, it knocked me on my butt. So I actually hit my head, so there was a double whammy on that. Yeah.
Okay. All right, we got a little bit of music playing in the background. But okay. All right. Sorry for the distraction. We just had a little bit of a tech issue for a second. But we're getting back on. We're talking about Johnny Rocket, and he was involved in an IED. For those that don't know, that's an improvised explosive device, homemade bomb. So it seems, were you in a convoy when this happened? Can you tell a little bit more about what kind of, not specifically what mission, but kind of what kind of scenario that this IED happened?
Yeah, we're on a convoy. We're pretty much patrolling the area, making sure there's no guns and everything. Just kind of a show of presence too at that point. The IED went off and it hit the first two cars, and just the wave is big enough to, pretty much knock you off your feet. Sometimes it lifts up a vehicle, knocks the vehicle on the side. So that's.
Did this also affect you in terms of any other losses, soldiers, soldiers or anyone else at that particular incident that you could recall that may have impacted you?
Yeah, one of the soldiers was killed in there. A couple more were injured, physically injured. A lot of us are mentally injured from it, but like to say, injuries are not just physical. They're mental problems too.
So we have visible and also invisible wounds. And these two issues between TBI, traumatic brain injury, and also post-traumatic stress disorder are, from what many professionals say, are the signature marks of Iraqi freedom and enduring freedom on some of these new campaigns. So there are a lot of very visible wounds and scars, but it seems that there is a great abundance also of invisible wounds that makes it very difficult for people in the public to see and understand or have an idea, because quite often these injuries or scars are not visible, so we tend to not focus on them as much. However, they do exist and they're out there. So we're going to talk a little bit more about some of Johnny Rocket's situation and some of his barriers. And I remember previously we had a conversation as I was getting to know him about 4 and 4. So I guess, Johnny, can you explain a little bit about some of those barriers? When I say 404, you informed me some of your barriers in trying to get help seemed that you had a situation with 4 and 4. Can you explain what 4 and 4 is?
I've never really stayed with one particular doctor because they keep getting switched out, or I get transferred to a new facility. So it's really hard to connect with somebody, and then you're able to open up more. But then after that, I've had 4 different doctors or psychiatrists or somebody to talk to in 4 years. So it's really hard to actually open up and talk to somebody when you keep getting switched and moved around. Then you gotta go and get to know the person, and before you feel comfortable telling them what kind of problems you have. So that's been really hard, because I usually take around a couple months to actually tell the person what's going on with me, and I only get a couple more months before they get switched, or I get switched to a different care provider, I guess.
Also, you've mentioned at the VA, which is the Veterans Administration, that you did have some sources of getting some kind of care to some degree. If you can, are there any other tools that you find helpful that they can give you, whether physically or medically, or any devices that help you in your treatment with TBI or traumatic brain injury?
I went to a TBI clinic, and they gave me like an iTouch, an iPad, or a voice recorder so I can record conversations and go back to them. The iTouch iPad was for my scheduling, so I don't have to worry about forgetting what's going on, what I got to do that day or the next day. They give me a GPS to help me get around because I'm not from the area, so it's hard to figure out where I got to go without one. A lot of smartphones handle that nowadays, so I've been in several different clinics in the VA. There's compensated work therapy, CWT. There's a vocational rehab for schooling and help get a job. There's a HUD-VASH program, which is a housing urban development. They pretty much help you set up to get your apartment, help you try and not only obtain an apartment, but keep it so you don't lose it. They're set up to do different things for you to help you out. There's also the supportive employment. They pretty much help you with the resume, help you obtain a job, and also keep the job as well.
What about any other programs or outlets? We do have some in common. I did make your acquaintance through Wounded Warrior programs and photography and writing. Do you want to talk a little bit from your standpoint about some of these programs and if you found any help in them?
They have helped. They helped me get out of my house because a lot of the time my anxiety issues or dealing with people I'm not good with dealing with people in a big setting or a big group. So if I'm doing them with other veterans, that helps out. Like if I'm on a train and it's packed, I usually try and get off of it to wait for another one, or I have to play my music if I got to get there on time, and I just kind of tune everybody else out so that these programs will help me deal with a lot of the anxiety issues.
Do you have any recollections of any of the ones specifically to those programs' names? For example, Wounded Warriors. I don't actually. Johnny Rocket is pretty connected with some of these programs, and he's educated me, which in turn can help educate the public and others, which is another reason why I do. I don't only get information or give information. I also get, I receive, I share as well. So the last event I think that we were together, which was a Wounded Warrior program, in Wounded Warrior, there's a couple more, but it was a softball game. It was a baseball game with the New York Yankees, Staten Island Yankees, sponsored with the New York Yankees, that was honoring veterans. So can you tell me a little bit about these program specifics that you've been involved with or like to be involved with, such as starting with Wounded Warriors and any of the other ones?
Well, yeah, Wounded Warriors is a good program. It helps us get involved, meet other veterans. Sometimes they'll send you invites to go to sporting events or outings, different outings, to pretty much get you out in the public.
Yes, it's very, very important to have that outlet to be able to get out in the public. And with Wounded Warriors, I just came back also from Project Odyssey, which was 1 week of a outing out in upstate New York, a 5-day kind of deal. And we did several activities with other warriors. It was great to meet so many veterans and deal with interactive things such as kayaking, horseback riding, adaptive sports, bicycling, yoga, meditation, a little bit of cooking, and most importantly it was the camaraderie. But you might got a little bit cut off on the last clip, so we'll continue about your experience with the Wounded Warrior program.
They actually had us travel to New Jersey, and my first event with them outside of New York, I guess, was a tank pulling competition. My first event with them was actually at the opening, before the opening day for the Yankees in New York. They had a breakfast or a dinner for just to get to know the Yankees, a benefit type dinner for them. And I got to get some autographs from some of them. Got to meet them. They introduced some of the older players and people who helped make their team. I've went to a basketball game with them, and like you said, we went to the baseball and softball game in Staten Island.
Okay. What about some of the other programs that you might want to mention? It is Friday, so Friday is a day that I partake in a photography workshop, and Johnny Rocket here is also participating as well. Can you talk about some of the other programs that are happening today and this weekend?
Yeah, we have the photography actually later today after this. It's really informative. They tell us what kind of pictures we should be trying to be taking, and the different settings of the cameras, the different ways to take pictures. It's really great. It's really great outing for that. They take us out in the community, try and get pretty much involved in that. There's the Warrior Riders coming up this weekend. They have Warrior Riders all over, I understand. There's one in Philadelphia, there's one in New York. I believe there's one in Texas too. There's one in Philadelphia coming up this weekend, which is going to be really great. I haven't actually been to Philadelphia yet, so I want to go there and try one of their cheesecakes or something.
Yeah, so there's a whole bunch of programs out there, and we're connecting and engaging in them as well. So we've had Warrior Riders call in. Lavella has called in before, and we've also had Erica Leone from those two programs call in, and there are many more. So if you have a program as well that will benefit veterans, or you're a veteran looking for a program, vetschatshow is an option for you. So you can call or write. You can write to www.vetschatshow.com and sign up and engage in a calendar, or just send a query and send your organization's information. Or if you're looking for some similar events by the same token as a veteran, please do sign up and get in the database as well, as we will certainly share them. As I am aware, there are more to come, such as this first hour of the segment, we've done music. So we have a veteran part that has a cooking element and cuisine. So they have sent veterans out to the Culinary Institute, and we would like for some of these graduates of the Culinary Institute to take part in the Waffle House mix. So we played music, feel-good music for the first part of the show, and have a concept also with Waffle House mixes that we will be playing dance music and doing what else? Making waffles. And cuisine is something that food and drink is something that we all can share. We also will have a small business part that will allow, during this Waffle House mix, to share something that's very common that we all enjoy, or most of us do, is coffee. So it's a good opportunity. I'm putting those three together. I thought I would just like to mention. However, moving along with the topic at hand, is we will talk a little bit about some of the signs and the symptoms and dual diagnoses of TBI and PTSD. Can you tell us a little bit from your perspective, what are the signs and symptoms, and how does having a dual diagnosis affect you?
First off, I forgot one of the programs that I was involved in. It's actually a fishing program. They have fly fishing for veterans too. I seen it on the Facebook. I seen one of their pages. They went to the islands free of charge. They got some sponsors to ship them down into the Virgin Islands and go fly fishing.
Oh, that sounds good. I'm gonna get a ride. We gotta talk about that.
Yeah. With signs and symptoms, I mean, TBI can actually, or PTSD can be actually caused by your TBI. The post-traumatic stress is one that's really hard to deal with because most of the time they want you to take medications. I don't like taking meds, I said before, but some of the symptoms are anxiety, sleeplessness, like you can't sleep at night, and sometimes if you do get to sleep, you have nightmares. There's flashbacks. And like TBI, I'm having part of it right now. Some problems remembering of stuff that I wanted to say for it.
It's okay.
It messes with traumatic brain injury. It messes with the thought process, your ability to concentrate, to remember stuff. It really makes doing stuff kind of hard because you tend to forget a lot of what you wanted to do, which is why some of the times I have the voice recorder. That way I can tell myself something that I wanted to do, or I can record a conversation and I can go back to it. iTouch, iPad, have calendars for your appointments or different things that you wanted to do throughout the day. It's hard dealing with some of this stuff because a lot of people don't see what's going on. They don't see the problem, so they think you're fine. You know, a lot of people say, oh, you're back from deployment, so you're all in one piece, so you came back fine. But what they don't realize is a lot of the times you might be physically fine, but in your mind you're just not there, or you have problems with different things. So even people saying that is something that causes anger problems. Is because, okay, yeah, I'm physically fine, or even problems you can't see, like people with bad backs, they still look fine, or neck problems or feet problems, they look fine, but you can't tell they have problems. So that's aggravating in itself, is people say you're fine.
Mm-hmm. Can you tell us more about, for you personally, what would a good day and or a bad day look for you in the life of Johnny Rocket as you came back now?
A bad day, usually I'm sitting at home by myself with drugs or alcohol, and that's the only way I knew how to cope with the PTSD symptoms of mainly anxiety. Like some of the times I would drink or smoke to actually go out in public. That way I feel better, and I feel more relaxed about being out in public. But
actually, just 1 second. Back up.
Okay, yeah. Actually, some of the problems were getting out into public, just dealing with people. Sometimes people in general are an anxiety problem. Like they just make you. Well, I know myself. I have a short temper sometimes because of dealing with people. I don't like to deal with people I don't know, and pretty much why I try and stay home a lot.
If that's a bad day in the life of Johnny Rocket, if you were having a really bad day in terms of, do you want to talk about maybe any hospitalizations that you have at something as would be a situation that really needed some attention, or an excessively bad day that you could recall?
Yeah, there sometimes, like when I stop using drugs or alcohol to mask my conditions, there are things that bring back the anxiety issues, the flashbacks, things like that. So those are hard to deal with if you're not on certain medications, or like I use drugs or alcohol to mask the problems, to push them down. But once they start coming back up, it's really hard to deal with. And sometimes there are thoughts in your head or stuff going on that can be close to suicidal. I believe that's why a lot of veterans are killing themselves, is because of their problems. They haven't dealt with them in the right way. And a lot of drugs or alcohol, sometimes they can help, but sometimes they build on the problem. So, sometimes you just gotta get away from that. There are places in the hospitals, the Veterans Administration hospitals, that help you deal with these problems, or just get you away from trying to hurt yourself. They help you to just calm down, relax. Sometimes, even if you don't want to, like I don't like meds, but there are times that I take them because I need help with the problems, and a lot of the times the medications do help.
You mentioned something important in terms of suicide, and it's kind of, I feel, is an elephant on the table. It's an issue that we know that's impacting a lot of veterans, and whether they've thought about it or actually have done it, it's a ripple effect in the community as well. Is this something, from your standpoint, that can and should be talked about? And if so, how can we engage veterans that really need help, that are thinking about that, to actually make a difference?
I believe that if we're coming back from a war situation or combat environment, that even if you don't think you need treatment, they should make it a priority. They should actually just have everybody in a class from their battery or brigade or whatever, that they should actually just go through a class of signs and symptoms, and pretty much just how do I explain it?
Signs and symptoms. When you say signs and symptoms, you're talking signs and symptoms of suicide, or signs and symptoms of other conditions?
PTSD mainly, because that one of the main problems with people that are returning is the PTSD. They have a hard time dealing with it, so then they try and take an easier route out of it. That's what I think it is, an easy way out of committing suicide, because you're not actually dealing with the problems, you're just ending it. Mm-hmm. You're not fixing it. So they should have like a doctor come in and have a class with the people that are returning, the soldiers returning to how do I put it?
Somewhat in a debriefing is what you're talking about, usually when you come back.
Right.
Before you're back into, for those that don't know, in there, quite normally within deployment, there are phases of it, was pre-deployment, deployment, and a post-deployment. And then part of the post-deployment or out processing, there are a series of informations and series of tests that a soldier usually partakes in before they're back into the community. And during that time, their conditions are being addressed. It's been quite a while since I did Iraqi Freedom 1 and 2, so I might be different than the out process now. However, we've probably come a long way, and we still have a long way to go, but we are taking steps, and I think this feedback that Johnny Rocket gave would be important, and that's why I ask. That's why I ask, especially so many young soldiers. There's so many young soldiers and really hurting and literally killing themselves. And like I said, it is an elephant on the table because we know it's out there, but we don't talk about it as much. I think it's part of just being awkward, because it's a little bit awkward to talk to somebody about killing themselves or hurting themselves. However, whether you talk about it or not, that's not going to eliminate the situation. So it is something to be aware of. For me, I have triggers as well. And part of that might be somewhere in that of someone who asking, well, how you feel, or, how are you? And there are times I want to answer that, and there are times I don't, because sometimes I personally feel sometimes people just ask that question just out of rhetoric, out of just it being something to ask. But there was a day where someone asked me, oh, how's it going? How are you? And I was very blunt and honest. And I did. I told the person, I said, hey, I said, I'm not doing good today. Something to the effect of my sister died, really down, and I was hurting that day, brutally honest. And the person told me, oh, okay, that's nice. Have a good day too, and just walk right by me. So when you have triggers, they kind of incidences that bring you back, and they can affect your perception or your lens or your world view. It certainly did for myself. So sometimes I think instead of just stating one thing, I try to be constructive. So instead of asking me, how am I doing, which quite often is a dual diagnosis for me, is post-traumatic stress, and it's also pain management, because I sustained a physical injury as well. It's just I had good doctors, so you can't see all my scars. Even some of them that I physically did, I had decent surgeries, so you can't see them, although they are there. But the pain affects my mood, which can trigger, and that's another key word, trigger certain other behaviors. For example, when it rains or it snows or it gets really cold, my body kind of stiffens up, which affects my mood and my mobility. There's times I don't feel like getting out of bed, so I can relate to the dual diagnosis, and I'm getting kind of choked up here because there's so much that I have in common with Johnny Rocket, but we never touched on each other's world. So I kind of see things similar, and the programs are helpful to me to get out there. And I think it's helpful as well, but sometimes a lot of these programs are in a void. I'm trying to be constructive and positive too. And they're great when we can get away. But at times it's important also to find a way for a program to work within your local community or where you are, and reaching the veteran where he or she is. It's great to go away fly fishing. It's great to go away in the mountains. But you know what? I don't live there. And I need help, or I think a lot of veterans need help with where they are, and home visits, and trying to sustain them where they are and follow up with that. So all of that progress is maintained. Johnny Rocket, do you find that experience similar or different for you in trying to connect with programs and get the help that you've had away here in the local community?
Yeah, I was in a hospital trying to deal with my symptoms of PTSD, and it's great to actually get out and relax. But when you're in the hospital, there's no outside problems. You're just dealing with what you got, the problems that you're going through. But eventually you're going to have to go back out into the real world, the public. So the problems you dealt with there in the hospital aren't going to be the same problems you deal with in real life. So it is great to get away to go to these different places, but eventually you got to come back and deal with your problems that you have. The sporting events, they're great, but they don't help me with my bills. And bills are a main problem for veterans because a lot of the time when we were in the military, we got a steady check. Now you got to get out and you got to find jobs. You got to find a way to sustain yourself. That's a major problem because a lot of veterans don't get hired, or a lot of veterans don't have places to go. They don't have their own apartments, they don't have their own houses, or even a mobile home or anything, cars. So a lot are out on the streets. That's a major problem that veterans come back to, is homelessness, joblessness, which shouldn't be a problem. And fighting for our benefits, like we fought for our country, now we gotta fight our country for the benefits that we should be receiving. Instead of being given them, we fight for those with the government. Our own government doesn't want to help us out after we sign pretty much a blank check with our lives. So that's a major problem that veterans have to deal with.
So how do you feel that we could prevent this or deal with these issues? And you've touched on at least 3 of them I was just noting as you were speaking to help me recall, such as homelessness, joblessness, and education and getting job ready. How do you feel this can be prevented or improved, either through your personal experience or any references that you see or models that are working? How can we prevent this or stop this trend?
The out process of the military should cover this, but it doesn't. They should try and help you reintegrate back into the society, but pretty much they just kick you out or let you get out, or they don't deal with you afterwards. So the military services don't deal with you. Now you're a veteran and you're pretty much society's problem, which they should deal with before you leave, at least 2 to 3 weeks before you get out. That way you start to learn, okay, I'm not going to have this steady paycheck. I don't have military housing, either the barracks or on post, or so you gotta go out and find a house or a place to stay. That sometimes there are veteran programs that help with that. The HUD-VASH or Housing Urban Development does give veterans a place or a chance to get their own place.
I think a key part in something you mentioned is also connecting the dots, as I call it. But connecting the dots is very important for myself and also a lot of veterans. So if you have in your life, I've mentioned support in the role of family. I think a support group is very important, and a lot of times I can't give enough credit to the families, really the families that are holding, and it doesn't have to be blood family of circle of support that are holding veterans down and helping them connect the dots for these gaps in programs, because there are programs and there are more and more that are popping up. I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing yet, but because some are not legitimate and some are, and some veteran programs unfortunately don't necessarily work well or for veterans and have more the business at mind more than a veteran. That's a whole nother story. but your circle of support, how important do you think that this support is for you? Because I believe families are the unsung heroes here, and there are a lot of programs. But connecting those dots or having those programs are of value, but sometimes, as I think you were mentioning, you might need a little bit more. I know I certainly do. But can you talk a little bit about what that means to you in terms of support to be able to connect those dots?
The programs that we spoke about, the Warrior Riders, the photography, the Wounded Warrior Project, they're all good places to meet other veterans. One of the main things we should do is help other veterans. Veterans helping veterans. That's a family in itself, and that's a good support group. Like AA or NA, they have sponsors. I believe sometimes that veterans should have other veterans as a sponsor for the problems that you're going through, or if you need help in one place, or just information from them. Just to, like, one veteran might help another one just by the information, like telling them to go to this place, or all you have to do is go through this avenue to get this part. You know, just like I was telling you, for TBI, they have clinics that you can get this stuff, the iPad, the iTouch, a voice recorder, or a GPS, or other things to help you with your TBI. It's like that, just helping other people with what you've experienced go through just different avenues of help.
What factors do you think impacts you the most in being able to engage in a program? How do you find information? Do you get it through referral, or how do you make the decision to join a program? For example, do you find out through online search? Do you find out through magazines? Do you find out through newspapers? Or do you just go with the faith and confidence of a referral from another veteran's? Kind of in your order of priority for you to engage in a program, which factor weighs the most in your decision making?
Mainly veterans, what they say and how, if they like the program, because a lot of people will send you to a place and they don't know nothing about it. They just know of it. You know, they can say, oh, this place can help you with this, but you actually go there and they're just full of crap. Like, they don't know what they're talking about. They just heard of a referral. The best information is from somebody who's actually done it and experienced the problems or the help, the situations different. Pretty much doing it that way. Veterans can tell you more about the program than the people that actually run it sometimes.
I would agree with that, and I'm big on veteran to veteran, and I'm also big on learning, would like to learn more a little bit from you about trying to discuss some issues of the other issue that was really big was joblessness, and play a role in that. For vetschatshow, actually, as we're sitting here, I'm formulating, but I am very strongly contemplating right now on giving Johnny Rocket a job here until he's able to transition, and put it out there that for what he's offered and done, his service and sacrifice to the country by him taking the oath and partaking, and him coming out and not getting the support that he's given others, I think is shameful. And I think by leadership by example, in a small way, out of my own pocket and my own budget, I will find a way to help Johnny Rocket get a job, or even here, and until he finds something else, or identifies what else he can do, because veterans have a lot of skills and a lot to offer an employer. They have loyalty and dedication. Johnny Rocket showed up. Actually, Johnny Rocket showed up prepared, and Johnny Rocket also did a recon to get here, and came a couple of days earlier just so he can find his way to be here today. And I'm not embarrassed to say that. And that's very impressive, because that showed loyalty, that showed dedication. Soldiers are also used to working, having a great deal of discipline to do all of these things. And he has this energy. He has this energy that it's like a burning candle, that he has so much energy. And even though he has this sleeplessness, if you give him something positive to do, I'm sure he'll find a way. So not only do I think all of these traits are great for an employer, we can find a way to utilize and channel that energy through outlets. So I'm going to find a role for him in the show, but we're going to talk a little bit more about his situation in terms of his search for a job and how's it been going so far and where he would like to go. So can you tell us, since you came back, you've mentioned financial empowerment in terms of getting a job to be able to support yourself and your family. Can you tell us about your search? How's it going, and what would you like to do?
I went and used the vocational rehab to go back to school, because I'm not getting a post 9/11 until I change my discharge. So just because you put money into it doesn't mean you get the money back. So I had to go a different route to go back to school, use vocational rehab, went to school. But sometimes the problems of going to a trade school is experience. A lot of places you go want experience in the job you've done or trying to do, and that's one of the main things, is getting the experience. A lot of places won't help you train. They already want you in the job. So, like I've had to take like what I call a remedial job, or a stopgap type job, to where I work to get income, but it's hardly any income. It's not the work that I want to do. So it's just something to fill the gap, the time, till I actually achieve the job that I want to do.
What do you want to do?
That's actually a good question. Sometimes it changes a lot. Like, I don't want to sit there and do one job for the rest of my life. I want to be able to get a skill set of more than one job to where if I get tired of something, I can go do something else. Like, I don't really plan on trying to retire from one job, because that's a lot of time to be doing the same job over and over and over again. So I'm not really sure. I've went to school for medical coding and billing, but it's really hard to find a job in that without the experience. And a lot of places want you to just go and do the job. They don't want to help teach you to do the job. So that's one of the main problems with a trade school.
So it sounds like at this particular point, although you have a certain amount of knowledge, skills, and abilities, that you may need a little bit of time to research and do some career development or career coaching in that kind of way to find out what kind of jobs you want to do if you haven't figured that out already. Sometimes you may not know what you want to do right away, and that's perfectly fine. Or you may have a lot of experience doing something, but that's not what you want to do, as I think Johnny Rocket was stating. But while I have the audience, I would like to be able to put it out there to a potential employer, a potential person listening to the show right now, so that I could tune them into what it is you would like to do. Now, if they were listening, what kind of job would you be willing to at least try in its interim phase? Connect with where would you see yourself putting out an application to? If you can work anywhere you want it. What kind of things interest you, or you're not there yet?
I'm not really there yet. Like, sometimes I like going to a job just to experience it. But, you know, sometimes my heart's not in it. I don't want to stay at that job. I just wanted to see what it's about. So that's the main problem, is trying to figure out what I can do and what I want to do. Sometimes they're not the same.
I could understand that. They have went to a meeting before with veterans across America, which is another program that I've come to engage. And I was hearing a story from West Poriatis about an employer that was willing to take a chance on a veteran and have something like you mentioned, kind of hire a veteran for a day, just to try it and build a relationship and find out if it's a good fit for you and the veteran and the business. And there were great success stories out of that. In fact, some of the success stories included one dry cleaners person wanted to hire even more and was so surprised, but if it wasn't through someone actually making a program or making the suggestion that it makes good sense to try to hire a veteran for a day, who knows what would come of it, because internships is a good avenue as well. But you had the point. It's how do you get the cart before the horse? How do you get somebody ready? You know, you go to school and you learn all of these skills, and then when you come out, they're looking for experience. Or you have the experience and you go to the employer and you have that experience, and then they're going to want the education. How do you put that all together and get an opportunity to try something new, or try working at a job? How do you put that all together and give it a chance? So does this sound like something that could work for you? If there was an opportunity, would you be likely to take advantage of maybe advocating for a hire a veteran for a day type program?
Yes, that would be great. You could see what the veteran is good at, what the job entails for the veteran to do. And if it doesn't work out on either end, it was only a day's worth of work. So, you know, it's internship or maybe even temporary jobs. If they hired more veterans, there should be like a program for that, where there's a hired veteran for a day or hired for a couple weeks, just to see how they fit in that role of the job. There should actually be programs doing that, kind of like a program like a Wounded Warrior, but you know, the veteran joins the program and then they find a job for that veteran to place them in, and it's a continuous place of, you know, a continuous role of the veteran coming in and going out, and then another veteran going to that same facility and see if they fit, or the same type of job in a different facility.
That makes a lot of sense, and I am also a believer that not only is it a good idea to do something like that, but also recognize and realize that there are a certain amount of people that may not want to work in the traditional sense in that kind of way for someone else, because I also believe that, myself included, I'm an entrepreneur, and empowering themselves and a family would be a great thing also to support small businesses. And this is an election year, so we know that small businesses are really what is a part of the equation that helps our economy grow and stimulate. And we're at a point right now where I think we have to put in the mind's eye of everyone that veterans are your business. It's America's business. That's where a key part of having a good model is supporting veterans and veteran-owned businesses is not only beneficial to you as a veteran, but it's also beneficial to companies as well through a lot of incentives or out there, whether it be set-asides or it also can be using some of the programs to bridge the community together. So I recognize that there are a certain amount of people that may need help that can do something in their own terms. And I consider myself, amongst others, in this situation, my guest too, is persons with disabilities. Now, I don't like the word disabilities because I feel it's a stigma, but I would like to mention that there are a certain amount of people that are differently able that may not be able to get up and work for someone else, but can work with someone in doing their own business in their own way. So with your limitations, Johnny Rocket, do you feel entrepreneurship or starting your own business may be an option for you in the future as well?
It could be, but I would need a partner's
support.
So that way, like, if there's stuff that I have problems with, that I can turn to somebody else, or even partner with somebody that's already in the sponsorship or entrepreneurially to help guide. So that's really a great thing to try and do, is try and do actually like a mentorship, like me watching you and see what you do, and then take it in as my own experience. That's a great thing to try.
I would agree, and I know for me, mentorships has been a big part of throughout my lifetime. So I can't even begin to mention the power of mentorship. And you're not in it alone, as well as I am. I don't think I would be where I am if it wasn't for support from other people, mentors, people in the community, or even learning from people like yourself. And I think mentorship is a good way to help others grow and is important. So I believe in the mentorship programs, especially with small businesses. And a lot of businesses grow through connections, especially connections of the mentor. Not only do they bring some practical life experience with them, but they also are able to get contacts for you and have a certain relationships within the business world to help you thrive. And just sharing a quick resource, there is the New York City Veterans Business Alliance. If you're looking for counseling in that kind of way, and business, some business counselors from experienced people that are mentors, that is free. Once again, it's free. You can go to SCORE, which is at 26 Federal Plaza. Also take advantage of SBA, Small Business Administration, has workshops at the Sybil, which is a science library in off of 34th Street in Manhattan. Who else do you have? You have SCORE. You have also SBDC, Small Business Development Centers, that are in each borough. All of these can help you develop your business plan, can help you get coaching and counseling, can provide you with models and workshops. And these are the type of programs that I believe are necessary for us to grow and develop and start businesses. So know that as you go through this, you wouldn't be the only one, and know that I've used these programs, so I can attest to them having an impact. And I will continue to use them, because even when you have a business plan, you still have to, it's just a roadmap. You have to work and tweak it, and it's an ongoing process. So in the last remaining minute of this program, my guest, Johnny Rocket, is there anything that you would like to make mention of that you haven't already?
Not really. I'm pretty much good.
All right. Well, we appreciate your appearance here on the Vets Chat Show and this in-depth discussion. And thank you for your honesty, your candor, and your service. I think the community can learn a lot from what was discussed here. And I'm listening, and I guess it's official. After this show, I'm going to find a place for you within the show to be able to help utilize those skills and energy that you have, because I really feel that we have to start somewhere. We have to show some leadership by example, not only as a person, but as a community and also as a country of taking care of our own. So this is Trent Love from the Vets Chat Show signing off on this episode. And if you want more information on the show, you can visit us at www.vetschatshow.com. Once again, www.vetschatshow.com. And this is your host, Trent Love, signing off.